Awesome. Thanks everyone that's joining us live today. Here today with Jeff Hammer, Hammer Forte Consulting, and also Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management Advisor. Today, financial training, getting ready for the game. Also brought to you by No Cap Sports. Jeff, go ahead and kick it over to you.
All right, sounds good. Well, as we talked about last time, one of the things we were looking at is this concept of as you have in sports, you have the different position coaches. And so the idea is to be thinking through, who are going to be those position coaches as you think about your entrepreneurial pursuits. And so some of the key things there, of course, we definitely encourage that you have an attorney or an accountant that's also going to be available to help track some of this. And sometimes you can find some great solutions that get you started down that path without, having to charge an arm and a leg through some accounting solutions, such as a QuickBooks, or there's plenty of other tools that are out there that can be quite helpful. But also, as we take a look at that, the financial advisor is somebody that you probably want to have in your corner as well. But also folks that are, available through the school. Many of the schools are, having folks that can help guide you through some of the name, image, likeness realm. But again, there are also some great platforms like NoCap that provide some great guidance in regard to that as well. And as we see that, some of the key things there are really around sort of knowing what the rules are. Because key thing, obviously it's like, I remember when we used to play basketball, one of the things that they used to coach us on that is now changed is, they used to say, load up on a bunch of carbs, and so folks would be throwing down pounds of spaghetti, or, don't chug the milk right before the race. Key thing there is, getting that right fuel so that you can run for the distance on this. And so the key piece here is, really around understanding what do you need to know before making a deal. What are some of the NIL policy considerations that you need to be thinking about, and how the deals themselves are actually structured. And so, as you think about that, it's worthwhile to talk through, what is not going to be allowed. And so, again, we're not attorneys, but these are some of the rules that are being positioned out there. We're going to have a deeper conversation as well with the NoCap folks in the next conversation. But really, compensation can't be contingent on you being at a particular school. So that's something that is not allowed. And you can't be given points, or compensation for your athletic performance. That is something that, can cause some violations of some of the rules there as well. And you can't be given work for work that you did not do. And so, for example, if there's an appearance that, you're being compensated for, you actually have to show up for it. If there's some other obligation that's part of the deal, you have to fulfill on it. So those are some of the things at a high level that are not allowed. What is allowed is going to be, you can have the professional services provider that can help guide you through some of the NIL types of work that has to be done. But you also need to have an awareness, and that team that you're using needs to have an understanding of what are the rules in your particular state, because they are not consistent across each state. There may be some opportunities there where if there's not a law in place, then you may still be able to engage in those NIL activities. But you really want to have an awareness of, what are the rules of your particular state. And again, coordination, we always encourage coordinate with the school. They really need to know what's happening so they can help guide you on that as well, to make sure there's nothing that's being done that's going to cause you any future heartache or jeopardize any potential benefits that you may be able to get while at the universities. Now, also, as we take a look at that, again, each of the states has their own laws. Right now there's 28 states that have the laws in place, but the timeframes are different. Some of the states have already gone into place, Florida, Texas, a couple of others, but there's some that aren't scheduled to go into effect for another 4 years. And so we want to make sure that we understand, what the rules are in your particular area. Then, if there's not a policy that's in place or any type of law, then there is some flexibility at the school level to determine how they're going to implement that. Similarly as well, we often have, and I've already had several conversations with some international students to understand, what can they do under the NIL rules. And everything we're seeing at this point is that, those students that are here on the F visa, they cannot earn income while studying in the States. There may be some opportunities under a P1A visa, where if you're in the States and performing for a specific sporting event, there may be an opportunity, but it can't be a part of your enrollment as a student. Similarly, I know Katie's already had someone approach her that's in the military. And as I take a look at that, folks that are in the military, if you're playing for Army, Air Force, Navy, et cetera, then you're considered a government employee, so you're not able to profit off of your name, image, and likeness. Also, depending on what division that you're in, or in this case, if you're in a different rule set under, for example, NAIA, there are some rules that were approved roughly about a year ago, maybe a little less restrictive, and so there's less reporting that's required. But again, we always encourage you, to the degree possible, it's always best to let the university that you're working with know what's happening, just because that way they can give you some guidance and some encouragement there as to how to best approach those. And again, one of the great things that we've seen with the NOCAP platform is that is something that with some of the compliance infrastructure that's built in there, as well as some of the deal making capabilities, there are some unique aspects that they can help give you some insights on. But there's a wide range of deals being done out there. I know a lot of folks have heard about the Cavinder deal, and they've got a large following, and they've gotten a great opportunity with Boost. Trey Knox has gotten a great opportunity with PetSmart. But also small schools. This is something where there is that capability. We were talking to a young man just this week who's playing at a small school up in New York, and he's the local hometown hero. And there's a sphere of folks that are watching. And so in this case, Chloe Mitchell has gotten a couple of great opportunities, founding her own business as well. And so there are those right deals that can be made. But similarly, there's also you need to know what it is you're getting into. There was a situation with a company that will remain nameless, but in this particular case, football player signed literally a $20 deal with an online gaming platform where they were going to send him some swag, and basically in the process, not understanding what everything was that was in the fine print of the agreement, signed away the rights to his name, image, and likeness for quite some time for $20. So it's worthwhile. Again, this is why we encourage you to have somebody take a look at the deals before you just sign them. And then as well, again, the folks in your schools, solution sets like NOCAP, they can give you some great guidance as to understanding, what is feasible and what is going to be something that could cost you in the long run. So those are some of the things that we're seeing in that regard. And to that end, a couple other things that we would encourage you to think through is, as you're seeing some of these different deals that may be surfacing in your arenas, really start to understand what is it that this particular business or even a nonprofit may want you to assist with, and what is it that you need to do in order to get that. So again, it's worthwhile to understand that. It is something that every student athlete does have that opportunity under the new NIL policy. Depending on the school we talk to, it is not just the major sports that you see that where folks are benefiting. One of the top revenue earners so far is a Division II lacrosse athlete, and so there are some great opportunities where you can take a look at that and say, you've got a sphere of influence. How can you best capitalize on that? It's also worthwhile to understand who at your university is helping keep an eye on the NIL rules, but also what's happening with the broader trends. So that's worthwhile. And then also starting to think about, especially if you're getting some sizable deals, who can help guide you in making those deals, or if they look like they are complex deals with a lot of fine print. Again, we're always going to encourage, take that to someone who has a legal background. So someone that can serve as an attorney, or someone who's familiar with this particular contract space, to understand everything it is that's going along with the deal. And we've got an example down here of what happens if you have this local business that's willing to say, hey, look, hit a home run, score a goal, whatever it is. If this happens, then we'll pay you and feature you on their next advertising campaign. So the key question there: should you sign that deal? And if so, why or why not? Well, in this particular case, again, there's pay for performance rules that you cannot violate. And so those are things that you'd want to be mindful of, but there may be appearance fees that you could charge to show up on those types of events without it being contingent upon your performance on the field, pitch, court, whatever it is you're playing on. And that's something that, again, there's a lot of different ways that you can be compensated for that. So think through these questions. Again, we're going to do some deeper dives, have some conversations with the NOCAP folks in the future conversation to really understand what else they're seeing on their end, and how you may want to use that to guide your next steps as well. But happy to be a resource to you. Feel free to reach out to us. And again, we look forward to seeing what you're going to do with your next deal. All right, Casey.